Thank you, everyone, and thanks for everyone who's joining. My name is Cohen. I'm one of the co-founders for Vicarious. It's part of sales, and my background actually it's not related to sales. I was leading security operations for the Israeli army, and afterwards consulting for the biggest companies in the market for securities, penetration testing, malware development, and stuff like that. And I want to start by sharing with you a story. By the way, by all means, if there is any question, anyone, feel free to ask. It's an open conversation. I'm usually sharing a story which happened to me personally 4 years ago, where I got a phone call in the middle of the night. Not very frequent, I must admit. So I pick up the phone, I look on the screen, and I see that the person who's calling me was my former commander from the army. And we are still friends. He said, Roy, I need your assistance. I need you to come over. So I put on my uniform, I take my car, and go to the base. And as I said, I was in a technology unit. And what happened there, I saw that all the soldiers were running all over the place. The reason was that there was an infection of, I don't know how many of you are familiar with, but we had the WannaCry infection. And this was a very big environment. There were 10,000 servers communicating the internet. And they were infected one by one. And the reason was, if you remember, there was a vulnerability by Microsoft, SMB version 1 protocol, which was vulnerable. And hackers used that to infect one computer to another. So it spread very fast across the infrastructure of the army. And by morning, almost 80% of the servers were infected. And what we did that night was to patch all the ones which were not yet infected. It was a very long process. And this problem is not something that only the army is facing. It's something that every company is facing. It's really a never-ending battle. Security teams want to fix everything. IT wants to maybe delay stuff because there are so many. And again, in the army example, it's not like the soldiers were not professional. Yeah. Any questions?
Right, you can go, no problem.
I can go? Okay.
Yes.
So the thing is, this customer, the army, has a vulnerability management system, and this vulnerability existed there. But the thing was, it was buried among tens of thousands of other vulnerabilities. There was no way they could know what was a critical threat. Simply no way. Every month, you have 1,000 new vulnerabilities disclosed. So even with the most responsible client, with the most responsible organization, the next month is going to have 1,000 more alerts. So how can you handle it? It's not something a person can do. 90% of every cyber attack involves at least one vulnerability. Maybe you heard of the Cognizant Maze ransomware a few days ago, sorry. And there was an Adobe Flash player which was not patched. Again, it's easy to exploit. And it takes about 6 months to fix a vulnerability. Even if you know you have an issue, it takes a lot of time. Companies can make the adjustments and patch whatever is needed. And this is exactly why we have created Vicarious and Topia, which is our product. Today, the only product in the market to handle vulnerabilities end-to-end. We really want to give customers the ability to know what they are facing and help them to fix it, not just giving them alerts. So maybe you are familiar with vulnerability scanners. What we got is a solution built out of 3 engines. This is the first engine out of 3. By the way, all the engines are integrated one to another, so you no need to do integration. It's all already pre-configured for you. So the first part of the solution is analysis engine. What it does, it's continuous vulnerability management. You're going to get all the time visibility for vulnerabilities. Companies today, one of their challenges is to know where is the problem. When they do a vulnerability scan, it can work, but sometimes there are gaps because it's not all the time. It's scanning at a given date, a given time, and that's it until the next scan. What you get here is continuous visibility for all the issues you have. both for known vulnerabilities, what you know as a CVE, but even more interesting, we are the only company in the world to do zero-day detection. What we do here, we are basically reverse engineer every application that you have, that the customer has, and we can give him clear visibility if there is any hidden threat inside, which may compromise the company. So this first engine out of three, what it does is first software inventory. You're going to get all the versions and all the applications you have deployed across your infrastructure. Then we're going to check for known vulnerabilities and unknown vulnerabilities. And this is going to be done continuously. If anyone got a question, feel free to ask before we proceed to the next one. The next engine is prioritize. Once we mapped and found the most critical vulnerabilities, companies today are having a tough time in deciding which ones are the most critical. And usually what they do, they go and every vulnerability got a risk score. So they search which ones are the most critical based on the score. And then they go and do research how to fix it and what to do. So the system does all of this hard work for the client. We can tell them which vulnerabilities they should focus on, which they don't. For example, with Microsoft Zero Day, which was published a month ago. So our clients, 50% of them, the vulnerability was not relevant. Even though it was a 0 day, the service which was vulnerable was not running on the computer. So yes, there is a 0 day, but they don't need to patch it urgently, maybe someday in the future. So we are capable of prioritizing the most critical vulnerabilities based on activities, usage. Does anyone use the application? Is it communicating with the internet? Is it running on user mode or kernel mode? Is it something run by an admin? How frequent do you use the application? So we do a lot of analysis for that. Also combining external feeds. Do you have an exploit? Like, are people speaking about it over Twitter? Is it a popular vulnerability? Is it easy to exploit, and additional things which may indicate there is a greater risk here. And eventually, once we mapped all the issues and we tell you which are the most critical, you can take an action. And today, companies using multiple systems, it could be patch management, it could be manual deployment, scripts they are building, GPOs, multiple ways to try to solve it. We try to bring everything here. We got out-of-the-box patch management solution. You can click a button. For Windows and Linux, you can deploy a patch for both the operating system and third-party application. We have the biggest list of applications supported automatically. If there is a specific version, maybe in Portuguese, maybe in Spanish, maybe in whatever language, then we can support that. It means you don't need to take care of it. The system automatically sees, okay, this is a Portuguese version. We will deploy only the Portuguese version you need is required. This is in a scenario where you can patch. If you cannot patch, we have our own and the most advanced virtual patching technology in market because we support the most amount of applications out of the box. In scenarios where you cannot patch, which are the most critical or unavailable, you can use the virtual patch for. Again, as simple as click a button, deploy, and forget about it. If there is an exploit, you will be either notified or you will be actually blocking the exploit on runtime. So what's in it for our customers? First, again, they get an option. They can do patch out of the box, click and deploy, forget about it. Virtual patching, we have additional countermeasures like configuration changes which may be required. So you can do. So we give you all the things you need to remediate the threat. Everything is unified under one package. You're going to get continuous visibility, which is a big challenge today for companies, even for clients who are required by regulation. I was a CISO for back in the days. I was a CISO of an organization regulated by PCI, and every few months I was required to give them visibility for vulnerabilities over PCI-related machines. So doing a vulnerability scan was sometimes challenging because some of the devices were not all the time connected to the network. So my scans were missing. Because we have continuous visibility, if we want to generate a report for PCI compliance, you can click a button and get all the vulnerabilities on these devices. You're going to get, again, we can find vulnerabilities before hackers do. We are the only company in the world to do that. And everything is unified under one solution. If there is any question, guys, feel free to interrupt. Just a few words about the company. So we all three co-founders from vast experience in cybersecurity. Michael, which is our CEO, was the first hire for a company acquired by Microsoft, a cybersecurity company. Yossi and myself worked for a different cybersecurity company who got acquired by CyberArk. So we all come with the right experience. We have advisors and board members from this industry, CISOs of AT&T, ForcePoint, Imperva founders. We got them all. The company is well funded. We have clients and customers all over the world. Also, we got office in Israel and in the US. So the company is doing well. We have a few case studies, but I guess Paulo will be able to share with you the presentations. Some clients who are willing and happy to share their experience with the product. Mainly, maybe if I'll say a few words. So one of our clients had an issue with continuous visibility. So we were able to provide them using our solution. And another one had an environment he couldn't patch, some ERP system he was using. He couldn't patch it because of functionality issues. So he's now using our product for virtual patching for over 3 years, by the way. So we're very proud with him, and he's very much satisfied with the product. He's using our solution to virtually patch 30 applications. Deployment and integration is very easy. It's a cloud-based product. We support the vast majority of operating system and Linux flavors. And deployment is super easy. Within a few seconds, you're gonna get visibility of the asset, all the 0 days and the CVEs. The most critical vulnerabilities will be shown within an hour because the system needs about an hour just to collect some behavioral statistics. And to deploy patch or deploy virtual patch, you can do it immediately. To summarize, to show value for the client, we do POC somewhere between 15 to 30 minutes because it's super fast. We deploy a tenant for the client. He plugs in a few computers. You see that he can find vulnerabilities. He can make the right decision. He can take an action. And eventually, he has a risk on the first day of the POC. On the second day, if he, even if he tries, it will be very hard not to eliminate all the most critical threats because we give you all the countermeasures, all the solutions immediately. So it's super easy to showcase and super easy to use. And I think that's a good time to show you an actual system. Any question, anyone? Because I wanted to have enough time to show the product. Anyone has any questions? Maybe something I didn't cover? Okay, well, we'll continue, but feel free to ask. So that's the dashboard of the system. Of course, this is just a demonstration environment, not a real production environment. And here, what we have kind of stands out in the center. It's 11 high-risk applications. And the reason it's in the center is that all of our clients, 100% of them, and CISO we have been in, told us that having all the list of vulnerabilities, that's okay, but trying to fix now 500 issues, it's not something one person can do. And all the time it grows. So it's not something they like to do. They want to focus on high risk. And risk, it's something which is quite makes sense. It's a combination of having a vulnerability, whether it's a CVE or a 0 day, and some X tags, some statistics or information we can tell you about the vulnerable application. For example, 14 applications were found to be easy to exploit. You have a description, what does it mean? Additionally, what we have here, 4 applications actually got an exploit. You can, of course, click it and see which devices we are referring to. And this is external information. What I can tell you from internal of the organization, 3 applications are running frequently. Okay, so you have many vulnerable applications, but only 3 of them are frequently being used. So maybe you should start with them first. 2 applications are running with an admin. Why you should care about it? Because some vulnerabilities require administrative privileges in order to get exploited. So again, you may have the most critical vulnerability out there, but For some scenarios, it may not be possible to exploit it because it's not running with an admin. So we do these correlations. And you see a lot of tags, and we'll not go through all of them, but eventually what they do, they either increase or decrease the risk, and this is why we got only 11 action items out of 80, which are either medium or low risk. So this is kind of the overview screen, and by the way, feature is the ability to filter everything based on a group. So for example, we created here a group of Linux devices. So if you click it, now all of the screen will be recalculated accordingly, and we can generate a report. Any questions? Let's hear someone. Cool.
Right, I will try to solve a little bit in Portuguese.
Okay.
Caso alguém tenha alguma pergunta, estejam perfeitamente à vontade. O Roy poderá esclarecer-nos. Interrompam assim que acharem importante. Obrigado. Roy, you can keep?
Continue, okay.
Keep going.
So this is like the overview screen, and this is a kind of a map telling you what are the most critical assets and applications. And if you want to go to the operational screen, you will go there. Just to show you, we have the ability to do like an executive summary report. I think it's something you will find very useful. So now it's being generated for the entire environment, but we can also do it by group basis. So you can either select a group and also go against and generate the report just for this subset. So this report, as you saw, it's a few seconds. You get a full report of your environment, how many zero-day families were found, which ones, how many vulnerabilities were unique to your environment out of what is publicly known in the world, what are the top critical vulnerabilities and how many instances we found, the exploitation tags we saw before. So 15 applications you have got over 8 computers. 14 of them are easy to exploit. So we have this indication here. Top critical applications, as we're going to see soon. Also with the 0 days indications, by the way. And the same goes for the most critical computers with the threats they are having. So you have a full visibility of the risk status. Now, if we want to take an action, we will go here to the Explorer. And here we have a few examples I would like to show you. As you can see, Internet Explorer was found to be the most critical, the most vulnerable application we have here. Obviously, it has some known vulnerabilities. It has some 0 days. You see here some 0 days, 4 functions which are vulnerable related to user interaction. CVEs, which were found, you can see it by version. So this version got 217 CVEs. And luckily for us, the system tells you, okay, you have a well-known CVE. This is what you should do about it. You can deploy the patch. Go here, click there, and you can select the relevant computer you would like to deploy the patches for. So for Microsoft, obviously, these are KBs, which you will be required to deploy. And for different examples like a third-party application, it will be obviously the later version. So you can select that and deploy the latest version. You can choose, of course. So deployment will be achievable through here. A command will be sent to the client, and the package will be downloaded, verified, and executed. And you will be notified upon completion. So we have a few examples here where we deployed a page for Wireshark. This was the version. It was vulnerable. And we upgraded to a bit later version, and it was successful. So this is how it looks in terms of keeping track of something happening. So just going here, for Git, we had an option to do patch, but we have an example here, like Python, which has well-known vulnerabilities, but unfortunately, no patch is available. So the client today will see in the vulnerability scanning report, he has too many vulnerabilities, but no patch was available. If you will upgrade Python to version 3, you need to change your code. So we have a few clients who know they have a vulnerability, but they cannot patch because either there is no patch or the patch will change much their application, they will not be able to support it. So in this case, the recommended treatment would be do protection. And protection is the process of basically picking and choosing the application and clicking either on monitor or protect. So obviously this is not protected, so nothing is needed to be done. But this is another thing you can do in order to show, to protect the application. And by the way, I want to show you how an attack looks like. So if there is an exploitation attempt, it looks like that. So here we simulated an attack over Firefox, which was vulnerable. And the attacker injected code into WMI process, and then he tried to inject himself, this is the type of the attack, into Firefox executable. So this is how it looks like. We have a different example. For example, a different utility called PasswordFox, which its goal is to steal passwords from the browser. And what it did, it was loading a vulnerable DLL provided by Firefox with a vulnerable function. And this is a different type of attack, direct API abuse, and it was blocked. So we have multiple ways of showing if there is an attack, and it's being notified immediately here to this dashboard. So once you deploy a virtual patch, you also get notified if someone tries to exploit your software. And eventually, every application we're going through here, you have something to do. It's either patch, either virtual patch, or additional countermeasures. So fixing and eliminating the threat, it's super easy because we give you all the things you need to do. By groups, by computers, on a given date, which we found, so everything is easy to manage. Another two things I wanted to show, you can generate an asset inventory report here, and you can generate a CVE report. So everything is still complying to regular standards. You can still generate that. Asset management, yeah, any questions? Okay, I will carry on. Asset management, so here we can see all the computers we have with additional statistics, when they engage, their IP addresses, top tags that we found, all the vulnerabilities they have, all the 0 days we found. So everything is listed here. We can generate a report of that, and we can create groups, which can be either dynamic, for example, all the computers which were found to be easy to exploit. So this is listed here. Or we can create groups based on more standard properties like IP range, organizational unit, domain. And these groups can be assigned a policy, like patching, reporting, anything which is needed. So this is in regards to the asset management. We got an operational screen, which I showed you, where you can see events of protection or patch installation and who is the user who initiated the action. You got all the event log of the organization, which applications was installed and when. So you can see which applications were installed on this date, for example. Also which assets, so you can keep track. And by the way, with the current COVID situation where employees are working from home, we can support remote computers. So it means you can install, we have an agent, you can install the agent on just one command line and that's it. You can install it on remote computer. After a few seconds, it will be listed on the asset screen. And then you can keep track over the employees, what they're doing, whether it's new vulnerabilities which were found, new applications which are not standard they are installing, and also take action, whether by do patching or virtual patching for remote employees. So this is a new way you can control your clients. You can push a patch over the cloud for your employees. So this is kind of the overview. We have, of course, a lot more to the system to cover, but just in terms of the highlights we've been through, we showed how the system was able to identify vulnerabilities. We saw how we can find 0 days, how we can prioritize based on the exploitation tags we see here. And this is where we got less amount of vulnerable applications, high-risk applications, and how we can take an action to eliminate a threat. Eventually, the goal is to make this 11 0. That's about it. Maybe it's a good time to stop here and to ask if anyone got a question, or maybe Paulo, you can also guide it.
Yes, right. I think então a perceber a solução. Tem alguma questão que queiram colocar, por favor, estejam à vontade. O Roy terá todo o gosto em responder-vos.
Just a question, is this multilingual? Does it have a Portuguese version and or not?
Yeah, so it's for now it's only English.
Only English. For now, but do you think if you are developing a multilingual version of this or not?
It's in the plans. We do support, by the way, if you have a Portuguese application, it will be listed here. But in terms of the UI, for now it's only in English. There's no like something which will be released in the near future I can share with you in terms of multilingual support.
Okay, and so this is cloud-based, right?
Yeah,
Completely.
it is cloud-based. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then I'll ask Paulo for the price list of this.
I do have a question also. When you deploy this, do we need to install any agent, is agentless, or how does it work?
It is an agent, so the deployment is achieved by multiple ways. You can either, this is usually doing a POC, what we do, they download this executable and they run the command, but we have additional ways to deploy the agents. One way is to deploy using MSI, we can provide you. So this portal is accessible once you start a POC, we can share with you access to this portal. We have all the technical and marketing materials. So to deploy the remote asset, we have a utility, it's called vDeployer. And you download it and basically take these executables and deploy them, of course, with the right configuration. So you can deploy either by using MSI. So this is the second option. And the third option is by using our deployer. So this is how you deploy the agent. And once you've done that once, we're able to update. Yeah.
And for hypervisors like vSphere, KVM, and others?
Yeah, so you deploy the operating systems that we support for everything, for patching, virtual patching, and vulnerability management. So it's listed here. So this is the Windows, and they're supported operating systems, CentOS, Ubuntu, Amazon. This is what we support at the moment. So if you have a hypervisor, we will be supporting the guest on top of it. Okay. Unless it's a Windows hypervisor, and then we support also the host.
Other question, can you explain us a little bit better how virtual patching works, please? Sure. I don't remember that. I know you mentioned it, but
I will better describe. So, okay. For example, Python here. So Python, it's an application which behind of the application there are some executables which are located on the disk. And when you have a vulnerability, it's somewhere in these binaries, exe, DLL in Windows, or SO, or lib in Linux, somewhere inside there is the vulnerability exists. So when you do the virtual patching, what we are doing in memory, it's two things. First, we protect the memory space of the application. So I can show here in this example of Firefox. Maybe it's good to refer to that. Once we apply the protection over Firefox, whenever a vulnerable like application tries to inject itself into your vulnerable application, it will be either notified or blocked. So we give you like a containing for the vulnerable application. That's the one thing. And second thing, we are protecting the vulnerable functions and vulnerable code locations in memory. For here, you see this inside this DLL, which was provided by Firefox. There is a vulnerable function, which was tried to be used by malware, and it was blocked because we identified the vulnerability before, and we were able to block it in memory. So we can put like a firewall on top of the vulnerable code, and whenever someone which is not allowed tries to access it, you will be either notified or blocking it. So it's runtime memory protection. It also means when you do a virtual patch, when you actually start it, there is no reboot required. Also of the application, if you go and click on the protection or monitor, you don't need not to restart the computer and not to restart the application. For here we got PostgreSQL. You can still have it running on your production server, you're going to click on the protection, and it will be protected without the need to restart the software. Also, if you're going to remove the protection, by the way, you don't need to restart anything. It will be done seamlessly. Unlike a patch, which usually requires you to stop and start the application, or even the server. Was it helpful, or do you want me to elaborate more?
Yes, it was helpful. Now we need to put the add-ons to to have more experience with it.
Yeah, super. Registering a new portal. So if any of you would like to have like a trial version, it's very simple. Of course, everything should be done with Paulo, but creating a new instance takes about 5 minutes. We have our, of course, now you do not have access for it, but we have a register portal where you can create your own tenant. So it's a very simple wizard. You type your name and email, and you get all the steps over there. Now you do not have access, of course, but afterwards you know, once we start working together, you will have. You'll be getting a new tenant in within a few minutes, and then you can start working. As I said, I'm not exaggerating. We have clients, paying clients, which saw the POC, and within 30 minutes we were after a POC with all the success criteria accomplished, and the system is up and running in production because it's very simple to integrate, as you saw here. You have 11 problems. Every problem got a solution, fix it, and your vulnerability challenges are over. That's it. We try to simplify things. And you are welcome to try it for yourself, of course. Any further questions you would like to cover? Of course, additional features are being added. And we saw that operating system is something which is a bit pain for clients. So maybe I'm not able to share, but we have operating system support, as I told you. So we can have it here. So you have the vulnerable application, and you have the versions which are vulnerable, and you have the CVEs and KBC which are needed to be installed. So we also support operating system. And next week, we're going to have an entire new screen for that, just for KB management. So it's something which we saw very in demand by clients. So we're also going to add this extended features specifically for operating system vulnerabilities. So this will be upcoming in the next few days. And again, I feel there is an opportunity today in the market with remote employees. Everyone are working from home. IT managers and systems want to have visibility and control over the remote computers. We have the ability to do so, to support them. We have a few clients, very big ones, all of which are spread over all of the continents, and they are using the product to secure their remote employees. So I think this is also something which could be very useful for your clients.
It seems pretty cool, right?
Thank you. We worked very hard to make it cool.
Welcome.
I think the most critical feature I haven't showed you is this. You have light mode. So we had some requests from people not liking the cyber theme with all dark, so you have an option to do so. Kidding, of course. But yeah, we are capable of supporting multiple you know, we try to simplify things and trying to support as much as we can with our partners and clients, whatever they require. So yeah.
Paul, can you send us the reference list of the clients that have already this solution and also the presentation that we saw today?
Yes, Arthur, I will try to do that. I will ask Roy a little bit of information that I don't have yet. We have some of the references he sent us already. Some of them are also in the website, but I will ask Roy to give me more information, and I can share with all of you. No problem about that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right, to go on?
Yeah, just to summarize again, if you'd like to have a trial version, so again, feel free to get in touch with Paulo. We'll be happy to do so. We already done so with some other countries we work with in comms, so happy to do it with you, with some of the partners there. So happy to start some projects together and to give you access to the NFR environment, which is unlimited. You can use it without, so all the engines of the vulnerability management and patching and zero-day detection and everything will be available there. So we're not restricting it. Of course, it's not for sale, but it's something you can use to try it.
I'm sorry, Roy. I just have another question. Let's imagine we still an environment with a very old Windows, like Windows XP or something like that, where there's no more patching, and we know it's vulnerable to a lot of attacks and things. What's the best way to still work with that Windows machine on our network? Without causing, well, holes or black holes or security events for us.
So first, few things. First, you see there is like a conflict between the presentation, which says we support Windows XP, and here which says we support Windows 7. And this conflict was we have like semi-official support for Windows XP. The reason is that Microsoft changed a lot of the internal mechanisms between XP and Windows 7, or Windows Vista, to be honest. So we can support Windows XP, not fully for everything. Windows 7 and above is like everything is fully supported. Even now, I think Windows 7 is out of support, by the way. So, but we still support that. And maybe I will refer to that in terms of unsupported operating system. So in this scenario where you have this kind of legacy machine, obviously we will not be able to virtually patch everything, but we will be providing the biggest coverage for applications out there. So what we would recommend is, as you can see, not all applications are supported for virtual patching. But for the ones who are, obviously, you don't have any other alternative, you'll be using us to protect. So in terms of best practice for legacy operating systems and legacy machines, obviously there is no patch. So the only thing you can do using Vicarious is to do the virtual patch, or if we found something relevant, you can do some configuration change using the system in order to support that. But if there is an ability to do virtual patch, we will be giving you that. So this is what you can do about it.
I spoke on Windows XP because I still know environments where NT4 is still used.
I see. Look, if we can discuss about this project once we get there. We have one client which we still maintain support for Windows XP. It's not something which we are officially kind of like to support because it requires a bit more customized development because it's completely different from Windows 7 and later. So basically we need to maintain two agents, one for Windows XP only and one for later Windows versions. So if there is a specific project you would like to discuss, we can discuss about it. We have, as I said, we have one client which we provide Windows 7 and Windows Server 2003 support.
Okay, thank you, Roy.
Sure. Anything else, Paulo, which I haven't mentioned?
No, I think you don't have anything else to show?
There is a lot to show. We can go through attacks and 0 days, but I think in terms of like a general overview, usually at this stage, what we're doing with our partners is we usually set up an environment on their computers. Of course, they can use and play with the system and try it out. So I think the best way to really understand the value of the system is to use your own computers to see that. And there we can take one by one examples and show why we identify this to be a vulnerable application, what you should do about it, and take an action. So this is usually the process of showcasing the product.
Okay. So I will just ask everybody if someone has some questions more to place to Roy. I think we can take this opportunity. It's a very good opportunity to talk with the guy that is a founder of the solution and can answer us everything. Anyway, if you don't have any question to place, let me just be thankful for everybody to be here. Thank you also to Roy to present us, to give us the opportunity to know the product a little bit in this kind of detail. And let me just thank you everybody for being with us.
Thanks everybody. Thank you for your time.